Hello, and today we are doing an EF preview for Match Week 1. And if you're wondering, what's EF? Well, it is that new game that we love to call Euro Fantasy. That's right, Euro 2020 with the asterisks, but Euro 2021. It's Euro 2020 Fantasy Football, and this is where I reveal my team selection for the first week of the season. And it's a very immersive game. You can change your captaincy each day. So, of course, these changes and these selections are locked in inverted commas. But, of course, I can change it each day. So, the transfers are locked in, just maybe not the selection. But we will change it accordingly. But the team we're having right now is looking saucy. So, before we continue, make sure you smash a like on the video, share with your friends, and comment down below, are you doing fantasy football for the Euros this summer? And if so, who are your key players you think are must-own players? And also, who should you avoid going into the first week of the tournament? But it's going to be a great one, so make sure you do enjoy it. So let's start off by saying that in this video, we're going to go through a few of the tactics, a few of the rules of Euro 2020 fantasy, because it is a little bit different from the usual FPL Fantasy Premier League. So yeah, we're going to go through all of that lovely stuff, and let's just get straight into the video. So before we do anything, I need to tell you some results. So the first result that I need to tell you is that in the last Euro 2020 video, before that reaction to the Portugal 26-man squad, we did like the big bumper video all about Euro 2020. If you haven't already checked it out, make sure you do on my main channel page. It is a big one, predicting every score, every group, etc. But in that one, we actually did go ahead and talk about certain players and things that we think will happen, the team that we think will win, Portugal. But I also said I'll leave it down to you in the comments to basically have your say. Who are you going to back to win Euro 2020? So originally I was going to set up a poll. Then I realised you need a certain amount of subscribers to do that. So no worries. We put in the little information section of the video a little link to a Blackburn Rovers video just saying who's going to win 2020. But basically what I then decided to do was in the description I popped a link to a Google form and the voting was done over about 5 days, and it closed on Monday the 7th. So, basically, we're going to tell you the result of that. Who are the people saying? And obviously, this is not the, who actually has gone with these people. I genuinely do not know the individuals that have voted because it doesn't show you it on my version of the Google form. So, it's not about the email that I've got from them. It's not about the people getting it right and getting a shout out. Talking of shout-outs, if you haven't already joined my Euro Fantasy team, League, which will be, I'll say at the end of the video what the code is, and if you do win that, you will get a shout-out on Instagram, so that will be really fun, so make sure you tune in for that later, Euro code. But in terms of this, yeah, it's not about who's going to be right and who's going to be wrong compared to others. It's more about actually the general consensus and what are people saying for the winner. And if, that general consensus is right, then fair play. The people have spoken correctly. So let us have a little look and see what the winner and what the result of that comment section was, / the Google form, really. So I can reveal that in that question for Euro 2020's winner, we had a whopping 47 responses. So thank you to all of the people, whether that be through WhatsApp, through YouTube, through Instagram, that hopped on over to that link and gave a vote. But it is an interesting array of teams selected. So I gave the option of France, Portugal, Italy, England, Spain, Belgium, and then we did an interesting thing of giving the other option. So I let you, if you had a team you thought was going to win an other team, then you can fill that in and personalise it to that country. So, France is one of the options, Portugal is one of the options, England, Italy, Spain, Belgium. But some of the others we have here are very interesting indeed. Now, we've got Finland that someone has chosen. Wow. We've also got Denmark, India, which is an absolute joke because, of course, India aren't in the Euros, but I think someone just put it in there just to have a bit of a laugh. Fair enough. Turkey, you never know, but it's a bold statement. And then it says Denmark once again, so I'm not sure if someone spelt it in a certain way. For some reason, Denmark has appeared twice there, but that's fine. That doesn't, have a problem too much. So, let me reveal in reverse order who's got the least percentage of the vote, and then who, of course, is our winner. So, I'm not sure what the percentage is, to be honest. I'd have to do a crazy maths calculation, but it's less than 8.5%. I can confirm that much. But it's split evenly, and it's split evenly between the following countries. Are you ready? Let's go. Denmark, Finland, India, Turkey. Those are the teams that it's split between. So you've got 3 teams there. Denmark, Turkey, India. Actually, no, 4, sorry. And also we've got Turkey. So Denmark, India, Finland, Turkey. Interesting stuff in there, but that is how it's looking. It says it's... Yeah, no, it is definitely 4 countries. Then the highest, a little bit more than that. So you're probably thinking if those, teams, Denmark, India, Turkey, etc., were on, say, 3%, you're looking at about 4.5. Very similar, but just more than that. So in second to last place, we have Spain. They are just above the previous countries. And then, above Spain, we've got 2 countries tied on 8.5% each. And I can confirm, those countries with 8.5% of the vote are Italy and Belgium. Interesting there. So, that is a very interesting one. And they are joint 4th. If we do the maths right, I think, in terms of all of these contenders. So, now we go to our top 3. What are we saying to win Euro 2020? Well, in third place, drum roll please, the team is Portugal. So, Portugal have been backed the 3rd best team to win Euro 2020 with 10.6% of the vote. So, 10.6 is decent. Now we go to second. This is the big one. Will it be France or will it be England that the viewers and the general consensus of the, viewers have gone for the Euro 2020 winner? 47 responses with 25.5%, and coming in second in this vote, I can confirm, is England. So that means with our winner, 31.9% of the vote, we've gone for France. The results are in. The results are done. Your Euro 2020 winner is France. Let's see if the general consensus is right from the subscribers and the followers of my Instagram. That is a very interesting one. France are one of the favourites. They are the current world champions, and their team is actually a bit ridiculous. Like, they're so strong right now. So it's not a bad bet, to be honest. It's probably the most logical guess, but it'll be interesting to see if some of those other teams, your Denmarks, your Turkeys, surprise people. Maybe even your Italys. But I do feel like France is the most logical one, so fair play. Haven't gone with the underdog, but there's some big teams in there. Spain, Belgium, Portugal could all have a good, go at it. So they've gone with France. Let's see how that pans out. But the other thing I have to tell you is that as well as doing a comment section, verdict on the winner, we decided to simulate FIFA 21. And I was going to tell you this on Friday with my Euro 2020 Match Day 1 previews. By the way, that will be coming. That will be a very good one, where basically each match day I'll be choosing just 3 games and previewing them with all the in-depth analysis, tactics, predicted lineups, and predicted goal scorers. So that'll be really good fun. Make sure you check that out. But I wanted to see who was going to be the winner of Euro 2020 according to FIFA 21. So the way I did this, I made a team, a group, loads of groups and a tournament, I should say, with 32 teams. Now, I tried to do 24, but with FIFA, typically they don't have a Euro 2020 update, and they don't have a tournament allowing you to do 24. It's either 16 or 32. So we went with 32. We put in some additional teams that, of course, aren't at the Euros this summer. Some rejects, the likes of, you know, Northern Ireland and the likes of Greece and India, just kind of putting in the fillers, really. And it was interesting because of that, we tried to replicate as much as we could how similar the groups are. But, you know, your teams like Croatia aren't there. Your teams, you know, like, I don't know, in Group B, you've got teams missing like, I'm trying to think, Slovakia or something. There's some teams missing, so we had to fill in the gaps. But we did do it all the way from the group stage. What we did was we got our remote and we didn't choose a side. You know when you go into FIFA and you select sides, we put the remote selecting sides in the middle of the two options because we didn't select a team. And we just played out every game. We let the game, you know, do its own thing and see what FIFA had to predict. So before we get into the big final, which I played today and we've confirmed the winner, I will just kind of run you through how the groups went and what some of the key scores were. Now, I could go here and tell you every single group game, but let's be honest, we don't want to do that. So what I'm going to tell you is just some highlights from the Euros, some interesting scores. But before we do that, let me tell you that the mascot for Euro 2020 this year is the man that's called something or other. I don't know what his name is, but I know what he looks like. And people, the wait is nearly over. Anyway, now let's have a look at the group stages of this FIFA tournament for Euro 2021. So, some scores that we had in this tournament included Italy 2, Wales 0 in the group stage. Goals coming from Ciro Immobile and Andrea Belotti. Then we had a 1-1 draw between Switzerland and Turkey. The goals there coming from Ayhan and Zakaria. Belgium beating Denmark by 5-0. Unbelievable. A brace from Romelu Lukaku, one from Mertens in there as well, and another goal from Romelu Lukaku to make it a hat-trick. So Mertens scores 2, Romelu scores 3. Unbelievable, Denmark. You've got to tighten up at the back in real life if you're going to be playing like that. Finland beating Russia with a goal from Teemu Pukki in a very tight 1-0 game. Austria with a 0-0 draw versus Netherlands. Yellow card there from Davy Klaassen, but no, key events going on in the game. Scotland losing 1-0 to Czech Republic. The goal coming from Patrick Schick. We also had a 3-0 England win, and I couldn't have Croatia in the tournament, so instead we put their replacements, Iceland. But a very good first win of the tournament for England. 3-0, one from Harry Kane, another from Grealish, and it was just a great game with the third goal of the game coming from the midfielder Mason Mount. We then had Poland 1, Sweden 2, and it was Marcus Berg getting the winner late on, 74th minute. An equaliser from Mateusz Klich, and the first goal actually for Sweden was a good one from the midfielder that is Olsen, but Lewandowski missing a penalty in there, so very interesting stuff. Slovenia were my Slovakia replacements, and Spain got a fairly comfortable win over them by 3-0. Canales on the goal sheet. Portugal beating Hungary 2-0. Fairly comfortable stuff. Ronaldo and Joao Felix ripping net there. France 1, Germany 2. Joshua Kimmich to get the winner very late on after a equaliser from Gosens from Germany and Mbappe getting the opener. 0-0 between Switzerland and Italy, so not a good one, but Spinazzola getting 2 yellow cards and getting sent off. Turkey 1, Wales 1, goal from Gareth Bale. Interesting stuff, and for Turkey, the goal coming from Ozan Tufan. We had Finland 1, Denmark 2, interesting stuff with 2 from Dolberg for the Danish and 1 from Kauko for Finland. Belgium just sweeping aside Russia, goals from Hazard, Lukaku, and then Lukaku again. We had Austria beating the replacement for the Ukraine, and that was South Africa. So a 2-0 dub either way, and goals coming on the day from a little bit of Sabitzer and Onisiwo. we had a 3-0 Netherlands win up against Norway, which is the replacement for North Macedonia. Memphis Depay getting a goal. And also we got a goal from Luc de Jong. And also in defence, it was Stefan de Vrij. Then we had a 4-1 England win over Scotland. That is very interesting indeed. Lyndon Dykes getting a goal. I think it's Lyndon for Scotland. But the other goals for England, Connor Cody, very interesting. And of course, Harry Kane again. He's so lethal. The other goals for England, actually unlikely again, but it's Kyle Walker. And then the 4th goal for England came from Marcus Rashford. 2-0 to Czech Republic against, in inverted commas, Croatia when it was really Iceland. Once again, Patrick Schick scoring a goal and Holozek for Czech Republic. Poland drawing with the replacements for Slovakia, Slovenia. Kramer scored, but obviously that would have been a Slovakia player, probably a Hamsik or someone like that. And Milik getting the equaliser. Spain 2, Sweden 2. Lindelof getting a goal. Ekdal also for the team in yellow. Oyarzabal scoring for Spain, and Canales once again 3-0 for France against Hungary. Very comfortable stuff. Pavard, Griezmann and Ben Yedder. 2-2 draw between Germany and Portugal. That is a very interesting game. And the goals on the day coming from João Moutinho and Ronaldo. And for Germany, Serge Gnabry and Timo Werner. So we had a 0-0 draw between Italy and Turkey, which in reality is, of course, the opener of the tournament. So let's hope that's not the case. We had Wales 0, Switzerland 3. Goals from Severovic, Shaqiri, and another from Severovic. Then Russia beating Denmark by 1-0. That's a bit of a turn up for the bookies. And it was Fernandez in defence for Russia getting the goal. Belgium 2, Finland 0. That's fairly comfortable. De Bruyne and Mertens on the score sheet. We had, obviously, Netherlands playing up against the replacement for Ukraine, South Africa, and Lorch got a goal for them. But then Netherlands had enough with goals from Steven Berghuis and de Jong. Norway, obviously the replacements for North Macedonia, drawing with Austria. Odegaard, but it probably would have been someone like, Alioski. But Austria getting their goal through Marko Arnautovic. Scotland losing to, in inverted commas, Croatia by 2-1. Finn Bogason and Sigurdsson, but it might have been, Kramaric or Rebic or Modric. And McGregor getting the goal there for Scotland. A very nervy game, but a win for England against Czech Republic by 1-0. And the first England goal in his career for the interesting midfielder. That is Jordan Henderson. Missed a penalty versus Romania and scored this time, not from the spot, but from open play. And actually, Derrida ends up missing a penalty for Czech Republic after a red card from Connor Cody. So it's all going on in that game. Spain beating Poland. Once again, Canales getting a goal. Slovenia beating Sweden. We had Vucic scoring for Slovenia. 2 goals for him. And Rep also. But the goal for Sweden, once again, it is the very lethal Berg. Hungary versus Germany. A 2-1 Germany win. So they left it a bit nervy there. 79th minute winner from Serge Gnabry. Werner again on the score sheet. And for Hungary, Kalmar getting the goal. And that's where the group stage ended, apart from Portugal 2, France 1. So Portugal ending on a high there. But now let's talk about what that did for the round of 16 games. So we saw a few interesting results there. A few interesting groups in terms of how they looked. But what did it mean for the round of 16? Well, we had Italy drawn up against Finland, and it ended 1-1 and 5-4 on penalties to the Italians. So they were against a team you'd expect them to beat, but they only just got the job done. And I can show you here absolute scenes for Italy with the winning moment for the Italians with a great penalty save from Donnarumma. I mean, that is absolutely unbelievable. That penalty shootout was full of drama, and this was the key save that won it for Italy. Finland, though, you've got to give them credit to get it to 5-4 on penalties. Even though Italy did dominate the game, they had just 2 shots on target. But Italy did enough in the end. Very good game to watch there. The goals came from Nicolo Barella on 37 minutes, and then the equaliser for Finland, Joel Pojanpalo. But that was a gutting exit for Finland. Then we had the next last 16 game, Netherlands versus Slovakia. A 3-1 victory for Netherlands on the day, with De Jong getting the opener, Slovakia getting an equaliser through Lovric, but then goals from Marlon and Wijnaldum were enough for Orange. So good win there for Netherlands. Coming up next, we had the game between Switzerland and Austria. You thought this could go either way, but Switzerland getting the win on the day, 2-0, and strikes here coming from Severovic and Itten. Then we had the game between Spain and Russia. Actually, it's ironic because this game was one of the group games for the World Cup. Or maybe it wasn't. I feel like I remember Russia maybe beating Spain in, a knockout game and penalties or something like that. But this was a big one for the last 16 and did see Spain take the lead through Koke. Russia got a late consolation from Zuba, but the second goal was the key one really for Spain. Off the bench, a penalty scored by Gerard Moreno. A nervy Spain win, but a win nonetheless. We also had Belgium up against France. What a great game in the round of 16 that is. And it was a good result actually for Belgium in the end. And they got a 2-0 victory. We also had Sweden taking on Czech Republic. The goal scorers there, we had Kulusevski with a goal on 40 minutes. And then there was a big miss by Robin Quaison for Sweden. They could have made it 2. But instead, the goal comes from Emil Forsberg on 90 minutes. You think it's all over. Czech Republic get a goal back from Patrick Schick very much into added time. But it is enough for Sweden to win that one. We had also that Belgium result, and the goals came from Dries Mertens and Romelu Lukaku right at the end to kill off the game. Also in this round of 16, Portugal played Turkey. And Turkey actually did get the lead through Yilmaz, but Ronaldo did get his goal late on. Before that, though, a brace from Fernandes with goals on 68 minutes and then 74. But Ronaldo still gets the goal on 87 minutes to make it fairly comfortable for the Portuguese. And then we had the game between England and Germany. Unbelievable game to end these round of 16 fixtures. And it was a tight England win. Unbelievable. Mason Mount on 71 minutes did enough. So great result there for the Three Lions. We next had the quarter-finals, and the first one to be served up was Netherlands against Italy. What a great game. But it ended Netherlands 1, Italy 1. So that meant it went to penalties, and on penalties, Italy did it again. Unbelievable. 2-1 to their Italian greatness. And the goals on the day, Memphis DEPAY on 7 minutes, but Italy responded quickly through Ciro Immobile on 29 minutes. But at the end of the day, the deciding penalty, Daniel Marlon had to score, and he didn't. And it's great penalty success once again for Italy. So they're through to the semi-finals. We then had the game after that 2-1 penalty Italy win between Sweden and Portugal. Now, this was a winnable game for Portugal, you'd think, doing it, looking at how well they did in the groups, but it was a very nervy one, and it ended Portugal 0, Sweden 0. No goals in the game, a few big misses from Diogo Jota and Bruno Fernandes, and on penalties, it finished Portugal 3, Sweden 1. Robin Quaison missing the deciding penalty, and it meant that Portugal advanced through to the next round of the semi-finals. The next quarter-final we had, which was a very interesting game, was England up against Spain. Wow, this is going to be a big one. Can England get to the semi-finals? That would be a really, really exciting one. But it actually did finish, in the end, in the Spain game, England won, Spain won. So Mason Mount getting the goal for the Three Lions. And for Spain, I'm pretty sure that it was a Yarzabal. But they drew level Spain and they won 2-1 on penalties. So England's penalty woes continue. And they're absolutely gutted to just miss out on the semi-finals. But Spain progress. And the final quarter-final was Belgium versus Switzerland. But Belgium got the job done with a goal coming from Eden Hazard on 57 minutes in a 1-0 victory. Right, we get to the semi-finals now, and we have a big game between Italy and Portugal. Italy rode their luck at times, in the last few games, getting draws, but then winning on penalties. what about this time? Well, it was a draw once again. So surely that means Italy go through. The goals on the day coming from Marco Verratti very early on, 9 minutes in. But an instant response from Portugal. It's Bernardo Silva on 13 minutes to get the team level. And it went to penalties. And it was unbelievable, really, because Fernando Santos, in this FIFA 21 game, he brought off Cristiano Ronaldo on 88 minutes to bring on Andre Silva. But surely, when a game's at 1-1 on the 88th minute, you just don't take off Ronaldo in case it goes to extra time and penalties. But it did go to penalties, and it was so dramatic because it ended 4-2 on penalties in favour of Portugal. And what a winning moment it was for Diogo Jota. He had to pick his spot, and he smashed it into the top right corner, just out of Donnarumma's reach and in off the woodwork. Unbelievable scenes for Portugal. So they are through to a Euro 2020 final despite Italy's previous heroics from the penalty spot. And we had Spain versus Belgium, 1-0 to Spain, and the young gun Pedri getting an early goal on 11 minutes. That saw them through to the final. So it's a big rivalry, Spain versus Portugal in that big final. And it was a very interesting one. You thought, bring it on. What's going to happen? Just leave it down to the, controller to, work out the destiny of these teams. And the goal ends up coming from an unlikely source. Rafael Guerreiro making a lung-busting run on that left-hand side, ghosting in behind that Spain defence. And he just slots it through the legs of David De Gea with a very subtle and soft but well-executed finish. And, he's absolutely delighted when he scores. He runs over to the fans and, claps their support. He high-fives them all. He's absolutely loving life. And his goal on 31 minutes was enough for Portugal to get Euro 2020 for FIFA 21. So the one goal was enough, and it was a great moment for my team, Portugal. FIFA, in their eyes, with no AI bias, it's all controlled by AI, and they have gone with Portugal. So let's see if they're right, and let's see if I'm right going into this tournament. But that was really interesting to see. So it's good to get that revealed and out in the open. Now, though, we are going to do what I wanted to do, which was my fantasy football team. So before we reveal, and I hope that we can get the screen back soon, but we've got to stay patient with that. We're going to tell you a few of the rules about Euro 2020 Fantasy. It's important to kind of get a lowdown on this for this FPL preview. And I did want to get it kind of in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, but I think half an hour is not too bad, as long as you just get straight on the video and smash a like on it. But to start off with Euro 2020 Fantasy, the match days basically work where there's 7 in total, and there's 3 rounds of games in the group stage, plus the round of 16, quarterfinals, semi-final, and final. So you need 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 3 forwards. You get £100 million to spend on your squad, and then that goes up to 105 million in the round of 16. So that's quite nice. There's a chip, though, which, talking of money, kind of does completely derail that, and it's called Limitless, where in FPL, we're back. In FPL, you can do the wildcard chip, but in this case, it's the free hit, which is in FPL where you can basically do a new team for 1 week, and you basically don't get that team the next week. It's just a 1 week off kind of team you get out. But this one, you can just go whatever direction you like. You can bring in the best players. You got no budget to stick to, which is unbelievable. But basically, it doesn't stay with your team because then you basically win the whole game. It reverts back to your previous team from the first game week. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be very fun to see how my team gets on. But in terms of numbers of players per team, there is a limit, unfortunately, for that. So from one national team, from the group stage, you can pick a maximum of 3 players from the same team. So, in one of my previous fantasy drafts, we had Jota, Ronaldo, and Patricio. And obviously that's the maximum for my team, Portugal. So it was kind of like, do we go for it? Do we triple up? Do we double up? For the round of 16, though, you can pick a maximum of 4 players from the same team. So that's quite nice. And then quarterfinals, 5 players. Semi-finals, 6 players. You see the trend. And for the final, it's 8 players. So that's really good to see. And basically, you pick 11 starting players from your 15-player squad. But as we mentioned, there is a substitutions window where you can sub in players that haven't already played. And in terms of captaincy, you can't go backwards. You can only captain a player after you've had a captaincy blank or a player that's already played as a captain. You can only then choose it and give it to another player for a captaincy who's not yet played. So that is interesting. Formations, of course, they change. As long as you've picked 1 goalkeeper, 3 defenders, and at least 2 midfielders and 1 forward, you can have whatever formation you like, depending on who you bring in for those substitutions. And yeah, with a captaincy, you don't have a vice captaincy, so it is going to be doubled your points as a captain. But I think what works is if a player as your captain doesn't play and you don't change it all game week, so that's every single day of the game week where you have those opportunities to change it, tough luck, because you're not going to get any points. And if your player gets red carded, then you're not going to be in good points, basically. And if a substitute gets red carded, you can't bring them on or take them off or whatever. So that's the rules, and that's the substitution rules. It's quite interesting. And in terms of point scoring, there are a few decent ones to look at. So an appearance gets you 1 point. 60 minutes, 2 points. A goal outside the box is an additional 1 point. 3 for an assist. 2 for winning a penalty. -1 for conceding a penalty. This is an interesting one because in Euro Fantasy, you actually do get negative points for a player giving away a penalty. That's not the case in FPL. And also in FPL, they usually say, oh yeah, if you win a penalty, that's an assist. That, unfortunately, is not the case for Euro Fantasy. But you also do get 2 additional points for winning a penalty, just not as much as you would for a normal assist, which is 3. Missing a penalty is a -2 hit, so that's not good. You don't want that to happen. -1 for a yellow card, -3 for a red card, and an own goal is -2. Goalkeepers, if you save a penalty, you get 5 points. If a goalie scores a goal, you get 6 points. So you get just as much points for a goalkeeper scoring a goal as you do for a defender scoring a goal. So if you have another mad Alisson moment, then unfortunately it doesn't get more than a defender. But of course, you probably will get some, points for saving shots. There are no bonus points in Euro Fantasy, so that's one thing to consider. You can't have those defenders getting blocks and interceptions to get those bonus points. That's not a thing. It's all about clean sheets and, defensive set pieces. You want those goals from your players. So that is pretty much it in terms of Euro Fantasy. And before I forget, I should tell you now, actually, the league code so you can join that. And as I said, if you win that league, whoever that person is, they will get a shout out. And, if you win this one, you could go on to play Fantasy Premier League 2021-22. You could go on to experiment with a few different fantasy games, because if you're good enough to win my league, then I think you're good enough to carry it on. So, yeah, I'll give you the shout out, and hopefully that kind of broadens your gathering and your popularity on social media. But basically, let me just get up for you people my juicy little Euro 2020 league code. So the league code for this one is going to be 8119 capital J, and then it's 0. Oh, sorry, is it 0 or is it O? No, I'm pretty sure it's capital J, capital O, 3, P, 0, and then 6. So that is my code. I'll repeat it one more time so you can get it typed in. 8119, capital J, capital O, and if it's not that, then go 0, but I'm pretty sure it's capital O, 3, capital P, 0, 6. And have fun with that. It's going to be a juicy one. So in terms of my winner, we know I'm going with Portugal. I've gone with Dark Horse to be Italy, and my kind of surprise package, Austria. Dominico Berardi, I think, could be a breakout player, as well as Oyarzabal from Spain, and Ronaldo for the Golden Boot. Let's see how we do there. But that is my Euro League, and that is my rules about fantasy football. So I bet you're absolutely itching now to hear my fantasy team. So this is it. The team name, Control Alt Delete. Hey. But talking of Matthijs de Ligt, I had him at one point because of the team name. But I think he's actually a player to avoid in this first match day because Ukraine will go for it. I think they could score. And I'm not sure about de Ligt's goal threat. I think he does score goals for Juventus occasionally, but I'm not feeling it for this first game or for the Euros in general. So I think he's a player to avoid. Another player to avoid that a lot of people have been seeming to get crazy about is Yilmaz from Turkey. Now, alright, he's a goal threat. He was decent in qualifying and, decent in his time at Lille when they won the league for Ligue 1, and that's impressive, but he's not all that. He's not what people are really getting excited about. Some people have got budget forwards. Your likes of, Wind from Denmark, your likes of Pukki, but I'm not sure he's the right guy, Yilmaz, because it's a really tough first game, at least against Italy, and you want to probably have him later on in the tournament, perhaps, where there's a good fixture that he can target, but not for me, Yilmaz. But in terms of our forward line, let's talk about that then, shall we? The first man on the team sheet is Romelu Lukaku. What a machine. I mean, Big Rom, he is so strong, he is so powerful, and he is such a goal threat. What a season he just had with Inter Milan, and he just has to be in my team because it's always a Belgian. That is the classic phrase from Spencer FC, and that game against Russia will be very fun to watch. It's going to be end-to-end, it's going to be goals, and I think Lukaku is always at the centre of that. Even if Kevin De Bruyne is not going to be fit in time for that game, or even fit in time for the group stage, we don't know how serious that injury is he suffered in the Champions League final. But at the end of the day, Lukaku's still got a lot of players in that midfield that can create for him, and he's the sort of player, alright, he might get a lot of tap-ins, but he's that striker that's at there, in the right place, at the right time, sniffing out the opportunity. And Lukaku is a fantastic striker. So lots of strength and could be on penalties. We don't know about that. It could be a decent shout. But I certainly think Romelu Lukaku is a strong contender for Euro 2020 Golden Boot. The reason I say that is I feel like he could have a strong tournament. I think he could score something like 5 or 6 goals. He got 7 goals in qualifying. His minutes per goal, 58, which is very, very solid. And since leaving Manchester United, Lukaku has hit absolutely new heights, dizzy heights with Serie A and Inter Milan, helping them win the league title for the first time since 2010. And he actually should get loads of chances, hopefully, later on in the tournament created by Kevin De Bruyne. But for now, they've still got a lot of, technically gifted players. So he could be on penalties. It's a possibility. His FIFA rating, 85, so pretty strong. And team rating, 5 stars. Belgium are going to be one of the big teams, and they have got a golden generation. It's whether they can live up to that in this group, but I think they certainly can top the group. His finishing is unbelievable. His shot power is so strong. Yeah, all right, he might be a little bit weaker for his, long shots and his movement, but his strength, his finishing is very, very efficient. So that's why he's in the team against Russia. Then we've got DEPAY, and he's got a game against Ukraine. And I've got to be honest, for a long time, I wasn't wanting to get Memphis Depay, but I just saw his form going into the tournament, and alright, I have to kind of just say, you made a mistake by not having him in there. And it's a great first game. Ukraine is going to be a very, up and down game, I think, for the Ukraine, because, they're going to go into it with a lot of hope. They've got Zinchenko, they've got Yarmolenko, they've got some decent players, like your likes of Malinovsky and, Yaremchuk, but I still feel like Netherlands are going to want to make a statement. They have been that team to classically be the underperformers at these kind of tournaments, the teams that just should be winning trophies and they're not. And they have been just not scoring enough goals. But in qualifiers, they've been pretty solid. And Memphis Depay has been exactly that. 6 goals in qualifying and 83 minutes per goal. He probably will score a few less than Lukaku, but he's still going to be a goal threat. And this could be one of his best games. He had a sizzling season for Lyon in League 1, and he goes into Euro 2020 as his side's realistically biggest goal threat. I think he'll just be so desperate to impress. This is just his second ever major international tournament. He's had his struggles at Manchester United, then he went to Lyon. He's been doing well for them, but he wants to do it on the national stage now. So I think he's certainly a decent player, could take penalties just like Lukaku. Just like Lukaku, rated at 85 on FIFA. And the team rating, alright, maybe you're looking at 4 stars rather than 5. Because Netherlands are a team that against some of the stronger sides, are going to struggle. But they are going to probably still be dark horses to go far. They've got a great squad. It's just whether they can gel together and whether they can get the job done in these games. But I still fancy DEPAY against Ukraine to get some goals. In our midfield, we also have another Netherlands player, and that is Georginio Wijnaldum. And he's a goal threat at the end of the day. He does get most of the big goals for the Netherlands. And like I said, this Ukraine fixture is quite good, I think. Netherlands are going to go out all guns blazing, and Wijnaldum is actually more of a goal threat for his national side than he is for Liverpool. And it's a sad thing to see. He is going to be leaving Liverpool, but he'll want to kind of go with the memory that he was scoring goals. And yeah, all right, he didn't really score enough for Liverpool, but he did score some big goals, and he's a threat. There's no doubting his ability. He's really progressed so much as a player since his time at Newcastle, and we were going to go for a 30-minute video, but it's going to have to be 45. Just allow it. No, but Wijnaldum is still a good player, and I think he could be decent. Could be a good shout for this Ukraine game. Let's see what Genie can do and conjure up some special stuff. Can he, answer my wishes? Who knows? But we've got Mason Mount next, and he faces Croatia. Now, this is a bold one, I'll admit, because Croatia is not the best of fixtures, because Croatia are a good team. They're going to really go for it. The thing with Croatia is they're a team that have just reached an FA Cup, a World Cup final, and they're certainly in a good period of their youth and growing as a nation. But they still do have, despite some of the younger players coming through, a lot of aging players. Your likes of Luka Modric's and your Domagoj Vida, and there's a few there. So Croatia are going to struggle, I think, to keep going. They're going to have a good go at it. I think they're definitely going to get through the group. It's pretty hard to not get through the group with 3 teams going through in most of the groups. So Croatia are certainly going to do well in this group. I think it's going to be a tough one for England. But if there is one man to be the star man, I think he's got to be one of the first teams on the team sheet alongside with Harry Kane. Mason Mount has had a great season with Chelsea. He's just popped up, and you look at that Chelsea team, they've spent so much money, and yet Mason Mount has been the consistent player who's actually been getting the goals. So that just shows the impact he has, and he could whip in a free kick or two. He likes to practice those. He practices kind of technique on Cristiano Ronaldo, really. So I think he could be a decent player for England and could play an important role in that Croatia game. So we're going to go for it. Why not? By Mason Mount. Then we've got LORENZO INSIGNE for the first game of the tournament against Turkey. And he is such a goal threat at the end of the day. And it's a nice fixture. Turkey, they are going to have their, important players at the back, Soyuncu. But I still feel like Turkey will struggle. Italy have been amazing under Roberto Mancini. And this is the new generation of Italy players, this kind of modern Italy that Mancini has been able to kind of collect and group together, and they've just been on an amazing run of form going into these Euros. So I think Insigne is going to get the first goal of the tournament, in my opinion, and also hopefully should get us some big points. So for that reason, and the fact that he plays first, remember with captaincy, you can only captain a new player before they've actually played. So that logic means we're going to captain Insigne, see what he does. I could, though, captain the next player on this list who also plays in that game. It's Dominico Berardi. Now, to have Insigne and Berardi, I think is lovely because chances are one of those players will blank. So it actually kind of hedges my bets a bit more that we'll get some returns from one of those two players, hopefully. Dominico Berardi, he is my man to watch at these Euros in terms of an underdog player who could really make his name a bit more known. He is well known fairly in his time at Sassuolo, I do think it is, or some Italian team. But yeah, he's been amazing. He's been absolutely amazing for Italy, and I think that he could play an important role. And when I saw that in fantasy he was 6 million, I was like, mate, gotta have him. Absolute bargain. And you could say your Ciro Immobiles could be a better, shout for a lot of goals in this tournament. But I think in midfield they do often score a lot of goals, whether that's through Chiesa, whether that's through Berardi or Insigne. So I think against Turkey, you've got to target the fixture, and it's the first game of the tournament. So Italy are going to want to make a statement. They're going to be explosive. Hopefully we can get some attacking contributions from both of those. Now let's talk about the defence. We've got Majeli, first of all, in defence. And of course, he is playing for Denmark up against Finland in matchday 1. Now, I originally had Teemu Pukki in my team, I'll be honest, because I was just kind of getting the Teemu Pukki bandwagon, the hype train that is Teemu Pukki. Now, Basically, I was thinking there was going to be another Pukki party, and usually, just like with the Premier League, those kind of good streaks for Pukki start at the start of a tournament or a competition. So that was my thinking behind it. But when I'm thinking about it, that Denmark team is good defensively. They've got a lot of strong players, and Christensen, Zanka, Jorgensen, he is often referred as, with Schmeichel in goal. They're a strong team, and without Teemu Pukki scoring goals, Finland are going to struggle for creativity. So you could see a shutout there for Denmark, providing Pukki doesn't turn up. So I'm going for the defensive double up. We've got Majeli, who is, a goal threat, I'd say, and he's been, on and off playing games, but I think he will start for Denmark. Then we've got Kajar, and Kajar is he's class. He's above his own division. He's out of his own league. He's that good, and I think he's going to get a clean sheet, hopefully. So the double up could be perfect for that Finland match. Kajar and Majeli. Majeli, or one of those, hopefully gets some attacking contributions, but it's all about that clean sheet. Fingers crossed. And then we've got Jason Denier, and I think he's actually a player you must own in Euro Fantasy this year because he's a budget player. He's only 4.5 million. It's an absolute joke, but he is a nailed-on starter in that Belgian back line. You've got people like Jan Vertonghen, who is coming towards the end of his career, but he's probably going to play. You've got Toby Alderweireld, probably going to play. You've got, that Belgium system. You can play 3 at the back, or you can play 5 at the back with wing backs and have Timothy Castagna and Meunier. But I think I said Meunier there. I'm thinking of the Huddersfield player. No, it's Thomas. Is it Meunier? I'm sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it's Meunier. But he's really good at, going down those wings and having those attacking contributions. They could play that, or they could play the 4 at the back with Jason Denier and Alderweireld in there. So I think Denier does play, and Russia I think will be a decent game because, alright, Russia have been a team that have been quite good in the World Cup, but I'm not sure about their goals, apart from maybe Cheryshev and maybe Zuba. They haven't got a lot of goal threat, so it could be a decent shout for a clean sheet, and maybe Denier's got a little bit of goal threat. If he can just get his noggin on a few of the crosses for that Belgium whip in, then it could be a decent shout. And I think Belgium should top the group. So our last defender is Etienne Alioski. And that is because he's on penalties. Now, I actually do have an Austria player sitting on the bench right now. But basically, the way I've done it is I've tried to, where I can, play players that have a fixture first. Because, like with substitutions window, we need to bring on players that haven't played yet. And it just makes no sense to bench players that are going to play first. Because then I'll miss out on their points. So it's always good to do that. But with Alioski, he's actually a decent option. I think he's one of my more nailed-on players. Just maybe for this first week, we might get rid of him later on because he is going to struggle in that North Macedonia team. There's no doubting they are really, really big underdogs. And their team is going to struggle for clean sheets. So that's not a long-term buy, but Alioski, with him being on penalties, it looks appealing. Just got to hope that it gets into the box to get those penalties. But he faces Austria first match day. Let's hope for some attacking contributions. I mean, it's hard to not be Premier League biased when you see Alioski doing the bits for Leeds, and he could do the same for his national country. But I think Austria might struggle in that first game, and maybe Alioski could reap the rewards. In goal, we've got Donnarumma from Italy, and I think that's a decent first game. I feel like Turkey, without maybe Yilmaz scoring, I think they could have a blank there, Turkey. So Donnarumma's in goal. Great wonder kid, and he's got so much ability at his age, so it's got to be done. In goal for the substitutes, Hirodeki, because he actually does play after Donnarumma, so it's not a bad fixture against Denmark. If it goes wrong and Kajar and Majeli don't actually end up getting a clean sheet, then maybe Finland do, and Hirodeki could get subbed in if Donnarumma doesn't do well. Then first on the bench, Alaba, then Torres and Ronaldo. So that team is brilliant, I think, because it's got great squad depth, and we're not making any chips. This is a team 100%, 1 million, and I'm pretty sure you can't play any chips in match day 1. You have to wait until after match day 1. But it's 100 million, it's perfect budget, and I think it's a perfect team. With Alaba, he's going to be a goal threat, I think, and I think he could be a decent budget option at 5.5 million. You might as well own him. He's going to be attacking, even though he's technically a defender. He can play on that left wing, and he's classified as a midfielder in the game, so he'll get more points in terms of more likely to get assists and maybe more likely to, score points. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I'm going to have Alaba on the bench because I think Alioski will get a clean sheet. But if Alaba does something well, then I can always sub out Berardi if he goes and blanks. Then we have Pau Torres. Now, I originally had Ferran Torres, and I hope I don't regret that decision selling the Spain man. But because we wanted to get in Depay and Berardi, we sold him. But I'm actually going for the other Torres for Spain, Pau Torres. Now, I think he's a bargain at 4.5. He could be decent for Spain. Spain have got a fairly comfortable group, despite that Poland matchup. They've got Sweden and Slovakia, which I think is not bad at all. And we're going to bench him because he's got a later game. But the last player is Ronaldo, and he obviously has a game on the Tuesday against Hungary, so that he could often be, a player that I rely on in these Euro fantasy games. But we've got to bench him for now because he's got a game very late on. So he could be a great option for captaincy, Ronaldo. And I apologise that this video's run on a little bit, but it's worth it because it's a great video. So smash a like on it. So yeah, Ronaldo's third on my bench, and I'm sure he'll have a part to play. But that is our team locked in for match week 1 of Euro 2020. I don't know about you people, but I am loving that team. I think Control, Alt, Delete could be doing well. And the irony is, no Delete in the team, but I just don't think he's worth getting at this point. So that's my fantasy team done and dusted. In terms of deadlines, it's important because you need to know when the start of a match day is. This is not talking about the substitution windows because that's every single day. And that's quite self-explanatory. It's just when the games end and before the games start. But in terms of deadlines for match day 1, you've got, of course, Friday night. It's the 11th and it's 8 o'clock UK time. We have the match day 2 deadline, 2 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock UK time for match day 3. And match day 4 is also 5 o'clock UK time. Then the next one is not match day 4, sorry, it's round of 16 after that, that one, and that's also 5. Then the one after that, which is the quarterfinals, is also 5 o'clock UK time. Then after that, we've got the semi-finals, 8 o'clock, I'm pretty sure, and then the one after that, 8 o'clock. So they're all fairly, consistent, 5, 2, or 8. But that is my fantasy preview for match week 1. I'm sure that the other match week previews will be a lot shorter, so bear with me, people. But just had to kind of get all that info out and ready to go. But my strategy, I'm going to reveal next week because I don't want to spoil it for you in terms of how I'm going to utilise my chips. But that will be interesting. And in terms of my transfers, we'll go with fixtures. We'll kind of go with that, really. And then we'll see what happens in terms of form. But thanks for watching. See you later.